Good evening, Marshall Reddick investors, those of us who are new to the company and those of you who are joining us on one of many webinars that you've joined before. Welcome and thank you for attending. I am your hostess with the mostest, Kristen Tabar. I'm a realtor and advisor here with Marshall Reddick Real Estate. And tonight, if you couldn't tell from the opening slide, we will be talking about the Austin, Texas market this evening. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into it. We'll do a quick sound check. You guys have a question panel that you can type into. You can ask questions as we go. And all that I ask is now you just let me know that you can hear me. I want to make sure that all the audio is working well tonight. And moving right along. So as I mentioned, I'm a realtor and an advisor here with Marshall Reddick Real Estate. I was a investor before I started working with the company. Briefly, my husband and Scott Pastel, our VP, actually went to high school together. And so we had a intro with him at their reunion a few years back. And Jason and I started talking about what we were up to, and we stumbled upon investing in real estate, and of course Scott was the VP at Marshall Reddick at the time, and so it was a match made in heaven, if you will, and I ended up getting the position just a few short months later. So really was an excellent opportunity, and I've been really excited to be able to tell my clients that I do in fact practice what I preach. And my husband and I own several investment properties across the nation in markets where Marshall Reddick invests, and I've also worked personally with several of the teams as well. So a lot of other details here about me that you guys can read on your own. I don't need to read right from that, but look forward to meeting all of you on the line tonight and following up to answer any additional questions and hear your feedback about the presentation. So for those of you who are joining us for the first time tonight, a little bit about Marshall Reddick. We are a full service brokerage here in California. We also are a property manager and a private money lender. So in our 16 markets across the nation, we offer our clients the service from start to finish to complete your real estate transaction. And that includes myself or your own advisor, a real estate agent, property management team, and everybody in between. We like to refer to real estate as a team sport, and what Marshall Reddick does is help you to assemble the perfect team to ensure that at the end of the day, you've got a great investment, and we're here for you as a tool and a resource for the life of that investment. As I mentioned, we're in 16 markets across the U.S. The red outline that you see indicates the areas where Marshall Reddick actually has offices, and if you purchase in these areas, you will actually work with a Marshall Reddick agent and the Marshall Reddick management teams. In the other markets that aren't outlined, we work with third-party referral partners, and so your service, your experience, everything is going to be wonderful across the board, but we are working on expanding so that you actually get a Marshall Reddick agent regardless of where you invest. So happy to say that with the Austin market, we get to keep everything in-house and ensure that you have an excellent experience from start to finish. And we will dive into that market in just a couple of minutes here. So where do we choose where to invest? How did we land in those 16 markets? Well, there's a few criteria that we look at, and in terms of the Austin market, the Austin, Texas area really checks off all of these boxes. So for those of you tonight who are looking at Austin because of the strong job market, the low vacancy rate, the diverse economy that's also continuing to grow, the affordability of the housing, not only for buyers, but for renters as well. A landlord-friendly state, good education, and reliable property management, you've selected the right webinar to attend because Austin really does check off all of these boxes. We have a great team there and excellent properties that we're going to show a little later in the presentation. So as we get started, we're going to launch a quick poll. We're not going to broadcast your answers. We won't let everybody know what everybody said, but this is just for us to learn a little bit about who's joining us tonight and why you've decided to. We're going to go ahead and launch your first question. Let's see. I'm interested in the Austin, Texas market because, and you have 5 choices. Is it for the income potential? Is it to capitalize on an appreciating market? Because you have friends or family there, your advisor told you to check it out, or you threw a dart and hit Texas. So you decided to come check it out tonight and see what Austin was all about. I'll give you guys a few minutes. Just kidding, a few seconds. Take a couple of seconds, think about why you joined us tonight. And if you don't know, you just stumbled across this topic and decided this is my first webinar and I'd like to check it out, you can go ahead and select that you threw a dart. All right, just a couple more seconds here. We'll let some of you guys answer. And all right, in 3, 2, 1, I'm going to close it out, but I'll share the results too. So 63% for the income potential, 26% to capitalize on the appreciation. Wow, nobody has friends or family in Austin. I find that hard to believe. And 5% threw a dart, and 5% are here because their advisor recommended it. So awesome. Thank you guys for the feedback. We'll go ahead and hide those results now and jump back into the presentation. So tonight, we're going to be going through the meat and potatoes of the Austin market. So here's what's on the agenda. If you need to take a break, make sure you take a break during something that you don't really want to hear. But do keep in mind that this is being recorded. So if you do happen to miss parts of it, know that you can check back in on the website tomorrow and catch anything that you missed. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce our Austin agent, Mr. Seth Joseph. He's got 6 years of experience in the business, has worked with investors, specializes in working with investors, has a really solid understanding of the market. And, you know, the feedback I hear from my clients and my experience working with him is that he's very straight up to the point. He's very honest with our clients, a really solid negotiator. And we've got a lot of great properties that our clients have now that are performing very well in Austin because of what Seth has been able to do for us. So without further ado, Seth, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
All right. Well, thank you so much for the wonderful introduction, and good evening, Marshall Reddick investors. Just want to take a second to thank you again for having me and the opportunity to present to you. So as Kristen mentioned, I've been a realtor in Austin since 2012. I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree actually from State University of New York, which is where I'm from. I'm from New York City. And in an effort to continue with a lot of my education and further my education in the real estate world, I've gone ahead and gotten a few what's called designations, and these are one of them is accredited certified negotiation expert. So it's a 3-day course, and I learned the ins and outs of negotiating and how to basically make sure that the transaction is handled correctly from a negotiation standpoint. Also, an accredited buyer representative. This was a very intense course, and both of these are designated from the National Association of Realtors. And also, as Kristen mentioned, I specialize in working with investors buying or selling real estate, anything from single-family residence to multi-units. For the purposes of Marshall Reddick, you really won't be getting into vacant land or building from the ground up. So I'm dealing mostly with properties that have already been built. And my background before I was a realtor was in customer service. I was in food and beverage for pretty much my whole life since I was 14. My father owned a restaurant in New York City. So like it says here, you know, foundation of my real estate business built on hospitality, relationships, exceeding client expectations by going above and beyond. And I want those lifelong relationships, not just one-offs. So that's a little bit about me. And also, as Kristen mentioned, we are a full-service sales and property management company. As far as the sales go, I will be holding your hand from pretty much conception till actual closing. And I work with an assistant as well. So she's there to make sure that we're meeting all the deadlines and that all the proper paperwork is filled out and that we don't miss any beats. As far as the leasing goes, you can see there I will have a part in putting your home on the market if you need a tenant at that time, unless it's already occupied by a tenant. But you can enlist me to, or one of my colleagues as well, if it's sort of out of my normal area that I work in. But yeah, you can enlist me to list your home on the MLS and get it rented out. The management side is actually something I defer to Marshall Reddick. I will not be taking care of the property management side, and I will be handing that off to our amazing property management team. Also, yeah, like I said, I'm local here to Austin, Texas, and I'll be your direct contact when it comes to the market here in Austin. And like I said, specializing in single family and multifamily properties. So we are truly a one-stop shop in that regard. Here's a little breakdown of the property management fee structure. Okay, leasing fee of 50% of 1 month's rent, which really isn't that bad. If I'm not using Marshall Reddick, if it's a non-Marshall Reddick client, I usually charge 100% of 1 month's rent. So you're getting kind of a good bargain there. Monthly management fee, 7%. Again, that's a very, very good rate. And of course, never upcharging on any maintenance or repairs that we have to perform for you.
And real quick, Seth, I just want to throw in that leasing fee for placing a new tenant only applies when a new tenant is placed. So if the property is vacant and Marshall Reddick places a new renter for you and signs a new 1 month or 1 year lease, that's when you'll pay that leasing fee. If you're renewing a lease or you purchase a property and the tenants are already in place, you're not going to be responsible for that leasing fee.
Yes, good save. Thank you. So why Austin, Texas? Why consider Austin, Texas as a place to invest? I'm going to dive into the economics, okay? Very pro-business environment. Talk a lot about jobs. Touch a little bit about the quality of life and the increasing rents and the home appreciation as well. All right, well, here's a little breakdown of the 5 counties that are in basically make up the greater Austin area. When we talk about the Austin area, it's not only the city of Austin proper, but we have 5 counties. We'll start right smack in the middle with Travis County. That's where a lot of these Austin properties are located with the city of Austin. Now, above Travis County, Williamson County, as you can see, it's a huge county as well. Some of the cities that you will, some of the examples of cities that you will find within Williamson County are Round Rock, okay, Cedar Park, Leander, Liberty Hill. Those are some examples of cities. And then in Travis County, Pflugerville is also part of Travis County as well. Below Travis County, we have Hayes County. And if you look on a map, you'll see Hayes County will encompass the cities of Buda, and then going further south, you'll hit Kyle, and then finally San Marcos. Okay, Caldwell County is a very rural area in southwest greater Austin area. Bastrop County, Bastrop does have a downtown, but it's also rural as well. A lot of agriculture and farmland out there. And we've grown significantly to 2 million in population. That's the greater Austin area, of course. And this 150 per day moving to Austin, that is actually an accurate account. That's a lot of people moving, and it doesn't sound realistic, but we're very popular, and a lot of people are attracted to Austin right now. So this will give a little overview of some of the places where I've mentioned, just to point it out on a map. As you can see, starting at the top, Liberty Hill, Leander, I mentioned, Round Rock, Georgetown to the north, Pflugerville a little further southeast, Austin right smack in the middle where they have the word Austin. Going down I-35, Interstate Highway 35, you'll hit Buda, which does have a downtown, Kyle, which does have a downtown as well, San Marcos. New Braunfels is actually not in my service area, so I do not have access to any New Braunfels properties. Okay, but this will just give you sort of an overview when we start talking later about where these cities that I'm talking about are located. All right, now this is a very, very busy slide, but it does serve to give an example of how dynamic the city of Austin is. And the top row, right smack in the middle, you can see our skyline. Now that skyline has grown significantly just over the past 5 to 7 years. I mean, I came here in 2010 and the skyline did not look like that. There's always cranes around, and we're just getting high rise after high rise. If you notice, there's a little references to our music festival, South by Southwest, Austin City Limits. These bring in people from around the country. You'll see on the sort of bottom left, we have our UT Stadium, UT Longhorns, diehard Longhorn fans here in Austin, Capitol Building, and then towards the right, you'll see a woman hanging out with her dog on Town Lake, just going for a nice little paddle. And Town Lake is a huge attraction as well. That's actually the Colorado River that runs right through Austin. All right, so a little bit, obviously you can read these bullet points. Now there's just one thing I wanted to touch on, was the last bullet point with the median family income. Now this is in the greater Austin area, all right, but it's actually over $6,000 above the median family income for the United States. So, and inside of the proper city of Austin, that number will increase as well, significantly. Here's just a prediction for the Austin Round Rock area. And 2015 population, 2 million. Projection in 2040. Now, I can't attest to this, but they're projecting close to 4 million. And the next few slides will definitely be good examples of why we anticipate such a huge growth. So here we have the Capitol Building, UT Tower, and Dell located here, HP, and this is just going to start bringing to your attention all the companies, major employers that are here, right? Dell, Intel, Yodel, Samsung, National Instruments, Cisco. Now I don't have to name each one, but if Kristen, if you can flip to the next slide.
I'm working on it.
Oh, okay, yeah, it has to finish, right?
All the after pop up first.
Make sure we get all the.
Here we go. We're there.
All right, perfect. Now, the reason that I wanted to include this slide was actually a few reasons. Towards the top, you can see Silicon Hills. That is a play on words, right? So playing on words from the Silicon Valley. We're not in a valley, but Austin does have beautiful hill country out west and really all around. So we're considered the other Silicon Valley, right? So we call ourselves Silicon Hills. And what I wanted to exemplify in this slide was the fact that all these companies are spread out around Austin. They're not just in one area. We have the downtown Austin, where we have Facebook, Dropbox, a lot of other startup companies mixed in there. Towards the south west, which will be towards the bottom left, you can see AMD and Intel. That's along Southwest Parkway. Okay. Towards the north in Round Rock, IBM, the Apple campus is up there. Samsung is close. Of course, Dell. So it's spread out all around Austin, and there's job opportunities wherever you live. Actually, Oracle just built a new campus in Southeast Austin that can house up to 10,000 employees and graduate students as well. All right, I'm going to touch a little bit on the cost of living. As you can see, Austin is highlighted there in red. They're basing this on housing, groceries, utilities, transportation, and healthcare there on the left. And as you can see, even though we are we're becoming at least a major city, we're still lower than a lot of those other cities that you can compare to on this graph here. And that's a very attractive reason for why people are coming and moving to Austin. And I'm not going to repeat or read out loud all these quotes, but I will touch on this second statement there. One big advantage in Austin is that employers are able to recruit people to move into the area as well as find workers locally. And that's very true. I mean, Austin, like I said before, is a very dynamic city. There's a lot to do. And not only that, the attraction is there with the job market. And not only are these people coming in for jobs from other parts of Texas, but we have people coming in from all across the nation, namely New York, a lot of people from Chicago. There's a lot of people going back and forth in Austin and Denver, and and even people from internationally to come in for a great job market. One of those reasons also why a lot of businesses find themselves attracted to Austin is because we do not have a state income tax. So we're very business friendly in that regard. All right. Here's a bunch of statements and kind of predictions. Now, I'd like to touch on this last bullet point. Home prices will continue to supersede income growth rate, pushing more buyers into the suburbs. Now, this not only is this a prediction, but it's the current reality. And I know we did just do a slide on the cost of living, and while the cost of living is low compared to other cities, there still is a creeping kind of unaffordability factor that is playing in to some of these buyers having to go out to the suburbs. And what that's called, if you're unfamiliar with the term, is basically a sprawl, right? And our city council is working with outside sources to attempt to try to curb this sprawl by reworking the zoning regulations through a program called Code Next. But we shall see how effective they are. But it's very true. I mean, a lot of people are getting pushed out to the suburbs right now. All right, so I pulled these June statistics only because the July statistics are not in yet. But if you look at the top left in blue, the median price for single family homes is up 5%, right, since last year, the same time last year, to $326,250, which is a pretty strong median price. And you see the average days on market, if you look towards the right side, 44 days. Now, again, this is for the greater Austin area. That's a pretty low amount of time for days on market. But if you consider that this is the greater Austin area, there's a lot of homes within the central Austin area that have a much lower average days on market. And the last thing that I'd like to touch on, actually, yeah, Kristen, if you could stay on this one, the last thing I'd like to touch on is the bottom right square, right? And not a lot of people pay attention to this or kind of know what it is, but we're talking about months of inventory, right? And what does this mean? Months of inventory is if no other homes were put on the market starting, say, tomorrow, it would take 2.9 months to sell out of all the inventory in the greater Austin area. And just to give you some relative, I guess, relativity for kind of whether that's a good or bad thing, a balanced market would be between 6 and 7 months of inventory. So what that means is that right now, Austin is a seller's market. When people ask me, Seth, you know, you're a realtor in Austin. Tell me about the market. How's it doing? Well, I say, well, are you a buyer or a seller? Because if there's 2.9 months of inventory and we're in a seller's market, well, it's great to be a seller. I will say that since I did another webinar back in March, and that months of inventory was at 2.0. Okay, so we've seen a jump of 0.9 months of inventory, which is great. And we actually just did go through kind of about a month of a slowdown in the market, and I kind of attribute that to vacation and other things of that nature. But 2.9, yeah, we're kind of at almost a critical level at times, you know, for buyers. So and I'll touch on what that means for you as buyers a little later in the presentation as well. Okay, so a little bit about the rents on the rise. Again, I know I'm talking about, we touched on the affordability factor, but you know, this, if you just read this little blurb, what I'd like to stress about this rental rise is that while it is a great thing for you as an investor, I can't really, you know, no one at Marshall Reddick can really guarantee that these rents will continue to rise in such a exponential rate. We anticipate that they will definitely rise, but we just, you know, can't guarantee that. But I will say the next few slides that we're going to show you will be great examples of how Austin intends on at least maintaining this steady rise, if not you know, by around 11%, but at least doing a good job of trying to keep the attraction here. So go ahead and flip to the next slide. So this is an example of a huge mixed use project that is going, and if you can read towards the top, it just says plan near the domain. Now, I'm not sure if you're familiar with what the domain is, but domain is actually already a huge mixed use development, sort of in central Texas, central Austin. And there's a lot of shopping, restaurants, and a lot of apartments. So, you know, they're just going to sort of build another domain-like project near there. And actually, the next slide, Kristen. This addresses what's going on in Round Rock, right? So another huge mixed-use development slated for Round Rock. They're going to call this the district. And yeah, so a lot of exciting things going on in this, you know, Round Rock is in the north part of Austin, and these are just small examples of all the development that's going on. That doesn't include any of the master plan communities that are being built or anything. This is just strictly mixed use projects that I'm addressing. And finally, this public St. Elmo market, it's in addition to the approximately 40,000 square foot public market, the development project will include 108,000 square feet of creative office space, apartment units, and a boutique hotel. One of the reasons why I included this was because it's in South Austin, and I happened to buy a condo for my own personal living, basically about a block away from here. So there's, from north to South Austin, just tons of development. They're constantly thinking about how they can, add to the city and make it a more dynamic city as well.
All right, so I'm going to take the mic from Seth for a couple of slides here. For those of you who have experience on the Marshall Reddick website and have taken the opportunity to click around and explore the Learn page, this might look very familiar to you. For those of you who are joining us for the first time tonight or just haven't had the opportunity to visit the website, and take advantage of all the resources and tools that are available to you, we have a detailed market data packet for each and every one of our markets, and we update these regularly using data from the National Association of Realtors and multiple other sources to give our clients the most up-to-date overview of what the markets look like. That's everything from the economics, the demographics, what is happening from a business perspective, leisure, tourism, everything that you could possibly want to know about each and every market. So this one is available. The link is here on your screen, and you can also get there, as I mentioned, going to marshallreddick.com and clicking Learn. And in the search bar, you can type in market data, or you can simply type in Austin, and this information will be available to you along with several other useful tools and information pieces on the market. So please go check that out. And again, like I mentioned, this will be recorded, and if you find yourself trying to remember what Seth said about the market or where housing was headed, you can always resort back to the Learn page on the Marshall Reddick website to view this recording and save it for later viewing as well. You'll also find this information. This is the appreciation trend and where the purchase prices fall on the property class rating for the Austin market. So there on the right, you can see what increases have occurred in the market dating back to 1993. For this particular PDF on the website, we date it back even farther. So if you really want to get into the historical data, you have that opportunity as well. Now, what you can see, which is what makes Austin one of our most popular markets, is that appreciation trend line is a kiddie ride at Six Flags. There's some markets where the volatility in 2008 was all over the place. Some markets experienced huge crashes and are still trying to rebound from the plummet in 2008. But you can see here that Austin was remarkably stable and continues to be. So it's very steady eddy. It's not volatile in the least, and the properties there have been appreciating slowly and steadily over time. So for those of you whose goal in Austin is to capitalize on an appreciating market, way to go, because that's definitely what we see here. And now down in the left corner is the property class rating. You can find a link to the property class ebook on the Learn page on the website, but basically what that does is it's going to break down the methodology for you so that as we go through properties and you see an A rating or a C rating, you understand what that means. And so it's based on the median home price. You can see the scale right there on the lower left-hand side. And so this is going to help you understand what type of tenant you might expect. That this correlates first with the purchase price and then school ratings, crime ratings, etc. And many of our clients find this to be painfully accurate. So definitely when you're considering what type of property you want to invest in, I would really consider the property class as a jumping off point to start looking. So as promised at the beginning of this presentation, we are going to have Seth go over a few hand-selected properties for those of you who have joined us tonight on this broadcast. And we will be able to answer any questions that you guys have. We'll go over them. Seth, I'm going to go ahead and throw it back to you to hop into the first property.
All right, perfect. Thank you. So here at the top, you can see the address, 2643 Friar Creek Loop in Round Rock. This is a single-family home. And this home, as far as location goes, I just wanted to give you a quick, geography lesson. This is in south part of Round Rock. And what's significant about that is this is located in a subdivision called Greenlawn, where if you wanted to, you could actually walk to the Dell campus. Now, it's about a 20-minute walk, but it's a 5-minute drive. And that's the attraction about this part of Round Rock. Not only that subdivision, but that, South Round Rock area. And I'm not going to talk too much about the actual property. I really just wanted to help you guys understand the breakdown of the numbers here and how here at Marshall Reddick we come up with all these numbers. And so you can see on the top right, the list price is at $190,000. And I believe this home has been on the market for about 4 days. So with a down payment of 25%, plus your closing costs, which they estimate at 3%, and your closing costs are, prepaids like home insurance, and if you're using financing, that would be loan origination, and usually the bulk of that will come in taxes. Now, I put an initial repair cost of $7,000 because if you notice down below the photo in the agent remarks, foundation repair estimates attached, and that was coming in around $7,000. So I rolled that into the initial repair cost. And so the investment capital needed in order just to make this purchase finance wise will be $60,200. Now, gross rent, it looks like actually that gross rent is very high. I think there was a mistake there. Kristen, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I pulled this directly from the website, so.
Okay, yeah, so that would have been.
You know what? Annual. This is annual. This isn't monthly. And I'm not sure why it printed up that way, but this is showing the annual expenses. So that's showing the annual gross rent as opposed to the monthly gross rent. So I apologize. That was definitely an oversight on my part.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I can still go over these figures. So yeah, that's the gross rent for the annual, and then your mortgage payment, 5.25 interest rate. This will be calculated at a 30-year fixed. Okay. Now, taxes, I pulled taxes from the county and city. I basically just plugged them in. They're not arbitrary. So these are actual county taxes through the tax rate. And it's important to note that at least in Texas, we pull the taxes, what you'll be taxed at, from a tax assessment, not your market value. So oftentimes the tax assessment will be significantly lower than the market value. I plugged about $1,000 in for the home insurance, okay? And for the management fee, as we went over earlier, it's 7%, which will which will be rent minus vacancy. So you're not going to be charged 7% for the for the months that the property was vacant. In this case, there is no HOA fee, and if I do happen to find properties and post them on Marshall Reddick, I try to keep those HOA fees low. And HOA stands for Homeowners Association. And of course, the utilities, we're going to have the tenants pay for that, and landscaping both zeroed out as well. So those will be your fixed annual expenses, your non-variables, right? And then once you come into the annual income, these are more variable, like estimated maintenance. See, and actually, Kristen, if you want to take it away from here, you can talk a bit about that, but these will be your variable expenses.
Absolutely. So I do want to, just really quickly, I have been doing some rough math over here while you've been talking. The gross rent estimate monthly is $1,600. And so what that looks like from a cash flow perspective is an estimated income of $223 a month. So what these estimates, these variable expenses, as Seth mentioned, are maintenance, vacancy, and the leasing fee. So these are not charges that are going to be taken out of your rent on a monthly basis. What these are and why we call them variable expenses is because at some point, there will be repairs that are needed on your property, there will be maintenance items that come up, and you will experience a vacancy. And for that reason, we want to include that in the estimate because we want you to account for those expenses so you can see what the long-term return is going to be for any of your rental properties. The leasing fee, as we talked about earlier, is 50% of 1 month's rent, and that will be charged only when placing a new tenant. So you'll see here that we've taken that over 18 months, and I'm sure some of you are thinking to yourself, why is that? Well, that's because on average, if you own a property for 15 years, you'll see a tenant turnover approximately every 18 months. Now, for those of us who own property, we know that you sign with your management company, each tenant with a 12-month lease. So some tenants will stay for 3 years, maybe 5. I've had clients who have tenants who have stayed for 10 years. So on average, we see that turnover happen every 18 months. So that's why the formula presents it in that way, so that as part of your calculation, you can determine what you would like to put aside, if anything, to cover these variable expenses for the future. And the percentage is going to be based on the property class. So this is a B-class property. B-class properties are estimated at 10% maintenance and vacancy. A-class, you'll see at 8%, and C-class, you'll see 13%. And when you look at property on the website, these percentages are going to follow each property individually. So each calculator is going to be for each specific property that you see, and these calculations will be part of the overall return estimate. So I will only take this one opportunity to explain that, and you'll see these estimates again on every property that we present tonight. And so now hopefully you have a better understanding of what that means and how to use them to calculate your returns.
All right, thank you.
Absolutely. So overall, annually, if there are repairs and maintenance and vacancies, this may not be the heaviest in cash flow properties. However, as we also saw in the appreciation, the probability that this property is going to go up in value over the next few years, 10, 15, however long you decide to own it, is very great. So different benefits certainly for different properties in each market. Are you ready to go to the next property, Seth?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right.
Okay, this 8403 Riverstone Drive in Austin, Texas is in the northeast part of Austin. And you'll notice that I labeled it a B class. And and really only because it's of its price point. It's actually really nice in the inside. It was considerably updated. And what you'll notice, actually, it's funny that this one's also coming in with the annual um, annual gross rents. But there's one thing that I wanted to mention about this is that the gross rent for this property monthly wise, both sides are rented at 1,200, so the gross rent is 2,400 a month, and it's one of these rare opportunities that come along in Austin where we have a true one-to-one ratio for list price to monthly rent. What I mean by that is that the list price is at approximately 240,000, and the monthly rent is at 240,000 as well. So that's an ideal situation for any rental property that you're gonna find. More than ideal, really. So I don't really have to break the numbers down again, but this part of town is not an area that has been completely developed yet, which is why the price point is kind of on the lower side for a duplex. But I want to stress that I did mention how there's this sprawl going on in Austin, and people are being kind of pushed out to the areas that have more affordable parts of town. And this is, while it's not a completely overdeveloped area, it is a nice area. And I would consider this to be a good place to invest in. So if you go to the website and look up this property, please do, because you can see that it has been updated really nicely in the interior. So I encourage you to go ahead and take a look at this one and let me know if you're interested in finding out more information about it. All right, and we're going to move on now from a duplex to a fourplex. This one is located at 2200 Leah Cove, which is in Southwest Austin. Okay, and I actually one of Kristen's I just helped a buyer with Marshall Reddick purchase 2201 Leah Cove, which is just to the right of this property, and Kristen happens to be his advisor. So this is in an area that in a few square blocks is mostly duplexes and fourplexes. And I labeled it a B class, but it has some beautiful renovations that happened in 3 out of 4 of the units. And it has a brand new roof, exterior paint, 2017. It's very close to the entertainment district of South Park Meadows, which is to the east. And it's right smack in the middle of 2 of the major highways, either Route 1 or Interstate 35. Now, list price is coming in at $525,000. The gross rent, if I remember correctly, is probably, I want to say around, let me see, 4,000, around 4,000, 4,200 maybe, if you divide 48.6 by 12. And I know that 3 out of 4 of these units are currently rented. But yeah, this is in a good part of town. It's near a lot of retail and accessible to a lot of major highways. So I would recommend this one as well. Okay. Now I've bumped up the property up to a 6. What's that?
I said you upped the ante.
I did up the ante. I did. I sure did. So this is a 6-plex. Not a lot of 6-plexes in Austin, and not a lot of 6-plexes that cash flow right out of the gate to boot. This has a positive cash flow of $300. I ran the numbers on this. I have not been inside any of these units, but I did go by, do a drive-by of this particular unit. All brand new siding, hardy board siding, new roof. All 6 units are rented and occupied, and they're all remodeled. Brand new ACs as well. So this is definitely a great option for someone looking to kind of get into the the A-class market, right? Where you might not necessarily have to worry about a lot of that maintenance. If you look towards the bottom of the rows, you'll see in your variable expenses there, your estimated maintenance, because it's an A-class property, dropped from 10% from a B-class down to 8%. Okay, and yeah, so that's just another option for a multifamily. And I kind of wanted to touch on this as well. The reason that I put mostly multifamilies down instead of single families, at least right now, the environment that we're in as far as the rental market goes for investors, is that I'm finding that these multifamily properties right now are giving much better cash flow numbers than single families. It's been a little difficult for me to find a lot of single family residences that are making monetary sense for my investors. So a lot of the investors that I'm working with are focusing on multifamilies because that's where the, at least right now, where the cash is coming in. And sorry, I forgot to include where this was in relation to Austin. I would say this is in Central East Austin. I kind of call it one of these sleeper neighborhoods. Not everyone in Austin goes to this area, but I've seen incredibly high appreciation rates in these areas. It's very conveniently located to streets that you can get to downtown through not taking a highway. It's also close to major highways as well. So I like this. I like this property for just even strictly the location, not even the cash flow.
Perfect. So now that we've had the opportunity to hear from Seth on the properties, and I do want to say, usually we do present those with monthly return numbers. The PDF default seems to have taken it on the annual. So those numbers that you saw were the annual gross income from the rents and the variables. So you can always visit the website and look at those properties and see the financial calculators and change that to a monthly presentation so that you can see what those look like on a monthly basis as well.
Yeah, that sixplex, those units are renting at $1,100 per unit. So we're looking at $6,600 monthly and about $300 in your pocket, positive cash flow a month.
Yeah, and that's after estimates for maintenance and vacancy. So your actual income after just fixed expenses is going to be significantly more than that. So again, you can check those out on the site. We're going to go ahead and launch our second poll question. We just want to see your guys' feedback on the properties and which ones you guys liked the best. So was it the single family that we showed first, the duplex on Riverstone Drive, the fourplex on Leah Cove, or that sixplex on Wellis Circle? I'll give you guys a few seconds to respond. If you didn't care for any of the properties, that's okay too. And lucky for you, this is not the ultimate and final say in Austin inventory. And we work with our clients to really find exactly what you're looking for. So if none of these hit the mark for you, we can definitely get on a search and see what else is available in the market. And I'll give you guys a couple more seconds to get your answers in here in 3, 2, 1, and done. So let's see what you guys got. All right, it's a toss-up for the single family and the duplex. Seth, what do you think about this?
Wow, no one's interested in my sixplex. Okay.
Yeah, no one's interested in your sixplex, but we got 20% who like the fourplex, so there's that.
but yeah, that duplex on Riverstone, I think that is a good choice. I'm glad that people saw, at least 40% of our participants see that that's at least something to be interested in.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to hear some thoughts and feedback for those selections. Thank you guys for participating in the poll. We'll go ahead and get through the rest of these slides here. So as I mentioned in the beginning of our presentation, my role here is as a real estate advisor and a realtor. And so some of you might be wondering what that means and why is my role important. So we offer free mentoring to all of our clients where we really take the opportunity to go through the who, what, where, when, why of your real estate investment plan and goals and help you strategize on how to accomplish that. So what does that look like? Well, we start with the why. What are you hoping to accomplish? The how, what are your monetary options? Are you going to pay cash? Are you going to finance? How much are you going to put down? How much can you qualify for? All of those questions that we get answered from not only our clients, but their lenders as well. What is your time frame? Is it 6 months? Is it 12 months? Is it, I wish I closed on a property yesterday? We really want to build the plan around what your individual timing looks like. What's your criteria? Are you looking for a single family, a fourplex? Are you trying to keep it single story? Do you want brick? Do you care? Some people don't. And we want to try to check off as many of those boxes as we possibly can. And then we want to look at where the previous criteria puts you in a market. If your buying power puts you at 400,000, excellent. If your buying power puts you at 100,000, those two individuals are going to be looking at two very different markets. So we take all of these steps and we decide that Austin is the market for you. So we introduce you to all the key players. That's Seth, who you have heard from tonight, our insurance agents, lenders, management team. As I mentioned in the beginning, it's everybody that you need to have a successful real estate transaction from beginning to end, and then for the life of your investment. So this is what a consultation with myself, or if you're already an experienced Marshall Reddick investor, your own advisor. And what the end goal is to put together a strategy that's tangible for our clients to look at. And so what I've done here is included a slide that outlines my own personal real estate portfolio. And I did this because a lot of people, I find a lot of our clients get discouraged because they want to retire in 10 years, but they don't own any property yet. Well, you're not going to build a 10-year portfolio to retire overnight. It takes time and it takes saving and it takes diligence and willpower. And this is the journey that my husband and I have been on since 2006. And I'll admit, I had nothing to do with that purchase in 2006. However, for the last 7 years, we've been working together and making decisions on how we're going to build our real estate portfolio. And after that 7 years, this is what it looks like. And so this is what we want to help all of our clients accomplish. And that starts here with your consultation and then your conversation with Seth and making offers and building your portfolio slowly and steadily. So here is my contact information. You can schedule a consultation using the link you see here in red. You can also call me or email me directly. And I would love the opportunity to find out from those of you who are on the presentation tonight what your interest is in Austin, of course, what your goals are, and what you would like to accomplish for your own personal growth and in your portfolios. We usually like to do a Q&A. I've been doing my best to try to keep up on the questions that have been coming in as we go, but we are right at 7:30 on the dot, and I know that it's 9:30 where Seth is, so he's probably ready for bed.
Not quite yet. Not yet.
But I know a lot of our clients have evening obligations, family, children, things to that nature. So I want to let you guys go so you can spend the rest of your evening doing something else that you enjoy. And I definitely look forward to following up with everybody tomorrow or Friday. Seth, I want to thank you so much for joining us tonight. It was my absolute pleasure to host this webinar with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Kristen, and thank you to everyone who attended. I really appreciate your, I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all our viewers. Without you guys, we don't have anything to do. So we really appreciate you guys being here and appreciate the opportunity to work with each and every one of you to help you achieve your real estate goals. So again, my contact information is here on the screen, and I want to thank you all for joining us and have an excellent evening. Night, everyone.
Night.